interactive if you want to participate in this, but we are pleased to be here on this evening. I'm Richard Hopkins. Just to give you a little bit about my background, just take about 5 minutes or so, maybe three. Um, my career has been in the area of vocational rehabilitation. After graduate school, I became a vocational rehabilitation counselor in a small city in the state of Mississippi. I thought that I was very successful the first year as a rehabilitation counselor. I had 80 successful closures. Working in a rural community, you really got the opportunity to see all facets of disabilities, from the injuries that occurred in a rural community working on a farm. From there, I moved into the areas of vocational rehabilitation in the state of Texas. I had several roles and played several roles in the with the Department of Rehabilitation Services, from behavioral health counselor to independent living counselor, program specialist, director of programs, and the assistive technology specialist. I've had a 40-year career there. I've enjoyed working with consumers. I have enjoyed working in the area of assistive technology and watched the changes that have occurred in assistive technology over the past 10 years, which has been phenomenal. I'm pleased to be working with a good group of people right now at New Life Medical. They will be joining us on this presentation as well. Let me introduce you to Roderick Robinson, the CEO of New Life Medical.
All right, how's everyone doing this evening? Again, just thank you all for allowing us to, shed some light on assistive technology and kind of what our passion is. Unlike Richard, I'm not the historian, so I won't give a lot of detail, but I will give you some detail. I started this company back in 2006, just as a hope to provide a different solution that was being provided in our industry at the time. You had your basic DME companies that were doing complex rehab, but there was just something missing that we realized that no one was getting full solutions. So you would go to a seating clinic and get a piece of complex rehab to make you mobile, but there was no other solution to get that person through the door, or to connect with their family, to use that wheelchair, not just for mobility, but to make them more efficient at work. So we realized those things that were missing, and just wanted to fill that gap. And that's kind of how we got started back in 2006, and just kind of grown from there. My mom was growing up. My mom was a VR counselor, and I, just lived it every day, just seeing her help out her consumers and just go above and beyond. I had a cousin that went through the services that was deaf and hard of hearing, that utilized the services, and now he is a police officer here in the Fort Bend County area. So I've seen great stories and just kind of lived the life, as you would say. But it's just how we got started, and just some of the things I'm doing right now is I've had the privilege to serve at the behest of our governor here in the state of Texas on our rehab council, to help steer the way of book rehab in our state, to make sure that technology is available for folks that need it. So those are just some of the things I'm doing now. And again, I think we also have Devin that is joining us, and I want to let him introduce himself.
Hey everybody, again, thanks for letting us come and talk to you guys about assistive technology. Again, my name is Devin Hall. I'm the assistive technology specialist with New Life. I've been working with Roderick about 2 years. Uh, yeah, it'll be 2 years in August. Um, Basically, just in this short time that I've kind of been working with them, I've just been exposed to a lot of different types of disabilities and a lot of different uh, solutions that are able to help people be a lot more independent. I originally was doing computer science, so jumping into assistive technology, just coming from computer science, you wouldn't really think like, oh, I'm working with assistive technology. I'm gonna be in computers and things like that. But it's a lot more to it than that, especially depending on the person, depending on their disability, depending on the need. And yeah, Roderick and Richard have been great mentors, and they've been doing this a long time. They know their stuff. So hope we can kind of show you just a little bit what we know as far as kind of building smart home solutions for people, and then kind of shed some light on a little bit of the other things we do as far as tying in things to people's wheelchairs and things like that. So again, thanks for inviting us to come out.
This is a very interesting topic. We've all professionally have worked in the field for an extended period of time and had the opportunity to work with individuals with certain disabilities and trying to make the community not only accessible, but make their homes accessible for them, as well. One of my tasks was also not only in the home, but to work with individuals at their place of employment, using some of the smart technology in order for them to maintain employment. And one of the challenges have been the ever-changing technology and keeping up with the technology, so that we are able to provide our customers with the latest technology that's out there for them to continue with their daily activities as well as work activities. So this topic is integrating assistive technology, universal design technology, smart home technology, and durable medical equipment. We thought that this was a good topic that Rebecca presented to us, and we were excited to get involved in this because we've been involved in it for quite some time. Okay. We're going to start out with smart home. Roger. What is a smart home?
Yeah, and looking at the smart home, basically what a smart home is, it's a convenient home setup, and it's also known as home automation, where you can connect appliances, devices, and everything can be automatically controlled through a remote internet connected place, anywhere you travel, anywhere in the world, as long as it's on a network device. Devices all interconnect through the internet, and that user can control the functions and security in the home. So say if, a lot of security systems are run through home automation now. Your temperature, your lighting, you can control your home theater. And usually you'll see a lot of this in most new homes, new construction, and smart buildings now. So just kind of a breakdown a little bit of the smart home. The devices are all connected and accessible through one central point. So that would be your router that is situated in your home. So everything it runs through that, and it connects to your device, whether that being your smartphone, tablet, laptop, or even your game consoles, so like your Xbox, PlayStation. That in itself does have the capabilities to control those appliances, like your door locks, your televisions, appliances like your refrigerators. So the system is installed on a mobile or just a network device. And, and what it does, it enables that user to either set certain times or schedules for certain things to take effect in the home?
Before there was a smart home, there was a smart house. Back in 1999, I think this first smart house was introduced at Disney World at Epcot Center. It was a futuristic type house, and we were all amazed of all the things that was occurring in that house and all of the technology that was in that house. We thought that it was going to be way in the future. It was very futuristic at that particular time. And only a few years later, some of the things that was in that particular smart house came to reality. And over the years, the smart house became the smart home as technology changed, as the learning abilities changed, and it adapted to not only the younger generation, but the aging population as well. As the smart home, as the smart house turned into the smart home, technology began to take off in the year of 2000, and you see a great deal of things that are occurring at this particular time. One of the areas that I am most interested in, okay, go back here. It appears that I'm missing a slide, is universal design. And since that slide is not up, I am a big opponent of a universal design. But I can tell you one thing about universal design: it does not fit everyone. And one of the things I want to stress in this particular presentation and throughout this particular training is the fact that universal design exists and it works for some people. It's not for all individuals. The thing about universal design, it can easily be purchased from the internet, but there's no training provided for that particular technology. We at New Life Medical do believe in providing training to any technology that we provide for a customer or a consumer. I know it's relatively easy to purchase things off of the internet or Amazon, and the description that you get from that particular information or that equipment is not always what you receive. And we want to stress to you at this particular point, we'll be talking about Alexa, we'll be talking about Google, we'll be talking about some other things, but we want you to understand that the universal design technology does not fit every individual that has a disability. There has been some good things about universal design products and working with certain disabled populations or people with certain disabilities. And I've been very pleased with some of the results that we have gotten from Alexa and some of those particular products. But all of this comes together with under the auspices of assistive technology. One of the things that we don't want to forget is smart home, universal design, all come out of this area of assistive technology. I don't want to change the definition of assistive technology. I still prefer lost my thought there. I still prefer the definition that has been out there for many years. Assistive technology is the design of products and environments. I'm sorry. Assistive technology is any item or piece of equipment or software program or product system that is used to increase or maintain or improve the function capability of a person with disability. I don't ever want to change that definition. However, I would like to see that definition encompass a little bit more of the universal design definition into that. And I've heard that discussions many times over the past couple of years that we do need to tweak that definition of assistive technology just a little bit more, but that's something for future dates. All of this technology and everything that we're discussing tonight has a common thread. And that common thread is the internet, the Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth technology. Without these three, we could not make the smart home available to you. There's a lot of other things that we would not be able to do without this particular, without the internet or Bluetooth technology. Uh, Devin, can you fill us in a little bit on some of the Bluetooth technology, or Roderick, regarding some of the Bluetooth technology that we're using today in connecting individuals in their wheelchairs to certain automation in the home?
Yeah, the biggest thing on Bluetooth devices, especially now with how advanced power chairs have become. A lot of them are using a type of drive control called RNet, and RNet comes with that Bluetooth capability. Basically, it's just giving users ways to be able to, connect to a tablet, or maybe connect to their TV, to be able to do things like that, right? Some can even, use signals to control devices that are been pre-installed in the home. But the biggest thing about tying it in through someone's joystick, especially if they're in a power wheelchair, a lot of times.
Yeah, I think we might have lost Devin there, but
Are you freezing?
yeah, kind of, what he was, where he was going. A lot of times the technology, if you're looking at users with that are you have access to wheelchairs, we find that it is more efficient to tie those technologies through that user's device. So, that being a joystick or a specialty control, or whatever that device is that user is currently using to control their mobility, it is easier and more efficient to tie that technology through the joysticks or adaptive controls of that client. And typically Bluetooth is a key component in that, which makes that technology able to be connected, which kind of gives us that common thread and brings all this together for us. So when we look at, our home automation and everything else, some of your tougher tie-ins are going to be folks that you work with severe disabilities. How do we access that technology to those individuals, right? So Bluetooth enables us to connect that.
Yeah, one of the things about New Life, and one of the things that we do before we even attempt to work with a customer in a smart home, or trying to bring technology into the person's life or in their lifestyle, is that we have to look at the whole environment, and determine whether or not the environment is suitable for technology. We have to determine whether or not the person has a capability. Does the home have capability for internet services, or Wi-Fi services, or that nature? We also have to be we're meticulous at what type of services that we're looking for. We do know that satellite services at times give us issues. A satellite, if you in an area that has bad weather conditions or thunderstorms quite frequently, we're going to have problems with that particular technology. We do recommend, would we go out and talk with a customer regarding internet services, is to look at one of the larger companies, if it's available to you, like Spectrum or Google Fiber or Comcast or Time Warner, or companies such as that. We also ask we want to make sure that the person understands, or the customer understands, that he needs to get perhaps the best tier of services that you can get from one of the cable companies, so that we can be assured that they have the speed in order to and the bandwidth in order to handle any of the technology that we are trying to work with them on. Roger, you have anything you want to follow up on that with? One of the major concerns that we have with all of the technology is that what if the individual lives in an environment where where internet services is not available, and we have been in situations where electricity was not even available at times. And what do you do in those particular situations? It is tough. It is difficult to work in that environment. There is technology out there that you have to sit down and spend some time working with that particular customer or consumer, trying to find the right technology for that person to live, independently. But I can tell you that having a good modem and having a good internet service is the key. It's a key component to having a smart home. In my personal home, I have quite a bit of technology in my home. I can tell you this: if the power goes off, I'm lost. I can operate anything in my home basically I want to from a remote distance. I can control any of the door locks, the lights, the garage door opener, even the thermostats, even answering the door from a remote location. That's just how smart the homes are becoming. That's just how advanced technology is today. One of the questions that was asked a couple of weeks ago by this particular class is, how is technology having an impact on some of the aging population? That was a pretty good question, and I can tell you, being in that population, I'm seeing a lot of changes in technology. Just this past week, I was in a department store. No, I was in a regular grocery store. There was no cashiers available. You had to do all of the checkout yourself and using the computers that they had available to you. If you go to the bank now, I know Capital One has gone to another type of banking. It's all through technology. There's no cashiers at this bank anymore. You have to do everything through automation, through a computer. Even your deposits are done the same way. So technology continues to move, and even with the senior population or the aging population and the baby boomers, we're still having to keep abreast of that and keep ahead of that in order to continue to maintain and function in society to a certain point. So I wanted to get that point out because I thought that was a good question that we had researched extensively, even to the point of asking some of the senior community centers here exactly what they were doing to assist seniors with assistive technology. There were quite a few who offered technology classes, and I was very pleased to see that even in the Austin, Texas community. Google is here and offering quite a bit of technology training to seniors, and so it's a community college. We look at some of the new assisted living facilities here in Austin. I'm amazed by some of the technology that they are using also in the assistive technology. The hospital, our new hospital here, is using quite a bit of the technology for patients and teaching them how to use this technology once they leave the hospital.
And can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
you're
Okay.
back.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I mean, I was just trying to add just a little bit onto as far as not everyone having access to that, connection or not having power or things like that. Just wanted to add, like some people do. I mean, they could have access, but they might not be in a situation where they could pay for something like that, right? I had a consumer that I saw. Um, she basically just paralyzed from the neck down. She feels like she's at the mercy of her caretakers, things like that. She just really wanted a way to control her door. That's kind of a really hard thing to do, especially when you can't tie it in through Wi-Fi. And her biggest thing is that she didn't want to have to pay for Wi-Fi. And the thing about the funding sources for a lot of these devices, the state usually is not gonna you know pay someone's bill, Wi-Fi bill or cable bill, things like that. So you really have to kind of take in consideration not only the consumer but also the state agency or just whoever you're working with, uh, just to make sure everyone's on the same page about uh, what resources are going to be needed to one get the devices and get them installed, and then keep funding for whatever it is that needs to be funded. Because like I do see someone in the chat, everything's subscription now. That's so true. Everything is subscription based now. Even a lot of software that you could recommend for people, it's subscription based, or you have to pay monthly for it. And a lot of people just can't do that. And so you really have to consider that when you're coming up with solutions for somebody that maybe can't afford uh, something that is needed to make a solution. So you'd have to alter your solution for that.
Yeah, and typically what we try to do, and I know we're kind of jumping around slides here, and I definitely apologize for that, but sometimes when you start talking about technology here, it's no rhyme or reason. You just got to jump into it. In those situations, kind of what Devin is talking about is we have our two different systems. What we're going to jump into. So Alexa, Google Home, Iris, all those are your internet-based systems. Now, we also work with home automation systems that are intranet systems. So those are systems that are connected through a single device that does not require a modem. So we're talking about Z-Wave technology, insertion, X10, RF, infrared. So those are devices when we look at certain situations. Okay, are we going to a remote area? Um, you know, is this device, what device is more appropriate for the area that consumers in? Um, you know, of course, not everyone has the resources to pay, that monthly subscription fee to have internet provided to them. So, if you run into a situation like that, or someone that, say if they do have the resource to pay for internet services, but what happens if you're dealing with someone that has a traumatic brain injury or that is a quad? What happens if they get kicked out of their network or their power goes out? Well, hey, that person has to reconnect everything, right? Do they have the ability to do that? And if they don't, well, that's going to require a intranet system, where they don't have to power goes out, if something gets unplugged, they don't have to go back and reprogram everything. So it's and that's where we through life we complete a thorough assessment. Well, that's part of it. You really have to look at all those areas and come up with the best solution. But there are solutions out there for those type of situations where connectivity is going to be an issue, and resources. They do have things out there that can give people access to home automation.
Roderick, one of the questions that came up was that what if there was no power in a person's home, or they had all of this technology, and for some reason they lost power? What is a backup system for that a person can have in place in order to continue on with using the technology? Now, keep in mind that some technology does not require internet-based system, and you may want to touch on that a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, power is power. So, if you want to control your TV or anything, lights or anything like that, you're gonna have to have that power running through the house. A good example of that is, when Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, we were out and about just trying to get people restored, connected to emergency services, different things like that. So, they have different resources now where people can either absorb power, that may be through generators, solar technology, anything like that, to where, folks can have backup systems now. And usually that's where we want to have resources to folks in those situations. So, you have those alternate energy sources you can provide someone to keep them connected.
That seems to be the number one concern from people who are using technology is, what if I am not able to connect to the internet? What if I'm not able to get electrical current or power? Where am I then at that particular point? Yes, I agree that solar energy is perhaps the best way to go, or a solar power pack. If you live really out in the rural community, I know quite a few people are using generators, but it does take it does take some time and energy to utilize those generators. So we wish there was a better way, or another way that we could look at that. But the solar power and the generators is probably the best answer we could possibly come up with now. We always, if it's a person out in that particular community, we're always going to look at the environment and look at the technology that we're recommending. If there's a high rate of power failure, we're not going to go put in the most expensive technology that's out there that we may have an issue with the technology being blown up or something because of a power surge. So that has always been a concern by many consumers. Let's move on. There were some fun facts and some things that I wanted to just take the time to go over with you. Home automation truly began in a physical sense with the creation of automation products, beginning with home appliances. In your opinion, in my opinion, I guess, the automation actually started in the kitchen. You'll find most of the automation in a home in the kitchen. If you look back in the 1901, 1920s, the creation of appliances like the refrigerator and wash machine, dishwashers, people were looking for innovative ways and looking for ways to save them time and get tasks completed in the home. Roderick and I was talking today, and he was laughing at the fact that I said the word ice box. He doesn't know what an ice box is. Rebecca and I know what an ice box is, okay? Before a refrigerator, it was an ice box. And so that's how automation has changed. You no longer had to put the cube of ice in the refrigerator to keep your food cold. The washing machine, look how the washing machine has evolved over the years in the smart home. You went from the ringer top to Samsung's high-tech a washer that talks to you and have all of these amazing settings and lights. It's fantastic. You can either set the washer and dryer when you're away from, from home. Look, you can look at the steps of the coffee pot, from the coffee pot to the percolator to Mr. Coffee to what is it now, the Keurig? Yeah. That automation, that smart home automation, it continues to change rapidly. In 1966, the Echo came about. The Echo was the first kind of smart device. It was not commercially put on the market, but when it came on the market, it was only able to control just a few things, like the thermostat. It can turn the lights on and off, but it couldn't do any other functions that you wanted to do. That has changed tremendously. In 1991, I don't know if you could remember this, or if anyone could recall this. This is when the Life Alert tools came out. Remember the commercial, I've fallen and I can't get up? Go and look at, oh yes, I see someone talked about the clapper. Yes. Roderick doesn't understand what the clapper is, so we'll let you go with that, Roderick, okay?
He'll be at this all night.
But if you look at the Life Alert now, and I just saw one a couple of weeks ago, it is amazing how that technology has changed, and the response time that you're getting, off of that at that now. And then in 2000, it seems like everything opened up in terms of technology. We're trying to see how thin a television can get. I think in the next couple of years, it'll be as thin as a piece of paper. We're looking at the changes and the appliances, but the good thing about all of this is that it's universal design, and it's making it easier for people with disability to utilize these appliances and things. They are designing them now, looking at a wide spectrum of the population, and not just for one area of the population. So I'm glad to see some of that's changing. And now we at the Alexa. As I told you, the Alexa is a great tool. It is something that it is amazing.
I'm not sure.
Well, first I need to turn her off. So it is a great tool, but this is one of those tools. I heard someone said, "Alexa, be quiet." I am constantly pushing the Alexa for as much as I possibly can in my home, in my workspace, to see just how much I can get out of this thing. It is amazing, but one of the things I want Roger to talk about before I move on with the Alexa is this does not fit every consumer. There are products out there that has to be customized for the consumer. This is one of those products also that you can buy on Amazon or anywhere else. But let me tell you, if you do not know how to operate this thing, if you don't understand the instructions, just like any other technology, it's not going to benefit you at all. So, hold on. I'm trying to get the question here. All right.
Right.
Okay.
And Richard, I know to your point, I know, with Alexa not being the right alternative in some solutions, I know we kind of touched on that a little bit about, and I see you pulled up all the features of Alexa, everything it will do as far as locking your doors, controlling your garage door, lights, your blinds, your security system, running, programs through your thermostat, controlling your TV, and just many, 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 many more solutions. Kind of the key thing is, you know, during the assessment, and that is an important step in determining which device is the most appropriate and what all appliances are devices that consumer needs to control. So when Alexa doesn't fit in the criteria, another device that we look at is a housemate. And just to kind of tell you a little bit about, housemate and that technology is a device that you can connect through your iOS, also works through your Android. So housemate is a hub, and that hub will send off infrared infrared signals, also send off Z-Wave signals, and it has an app where you can download that app onto your smartphone, your tablet, and with that device, either we can mount that smartphone to a wheelchair, then have the joystick connect to that smartphone, and it gives a user the ability to control the app through the joystick, or the user can just have a mount and just simply touch their tablet or device. And with the housemate, it gives you all access to everything in your home. Same thing like Alexa. So you can control your blinds, you can control your appliances. A lot of the new appliances that you can purchase in stores now have that Bluetooth technology. It has the Z-Wave technology all built in. So, with a lot of what's cool thing about the whole home automation deal now is everybody's jumping on board, right? So everybody is making appliances that can connect to a certain ECU, so environmental control unit. So that's kind of the cool thing behind it. So there's a lot of different choices, but housemate is maybe right now the most, I would say the most popular intranet system that we have out there. Now, there's older technology, and I think we have a video that we're going to show here. I think it's one of the last videos, is the old Quartet system. So that used to be and so we're going back in the day, Richard, on this one. So this is in your realm. But the Quartet system was one of the first voice activated ECU systems. You don't really see them out there anymore because they've all been replaced with new technology. But it was a voice activated system that worked through X10. So X10 is an older technology where you would have to connect by certain codes in say if it was a plug or a switch in the wall, you would have to set a code for that device to speak to that light switch or plug, right, or whatever else you're controlling, right? Mm-hmm. So when we talk about X10, that's more of a frequency, a RF signal, radio frequency that's being sent out. Now Z-Wave is a little bit more powerful. It can go, Z-Wave can go through walls and different rooms. So it's a little bit more powerful than RF, because with not RF, but infrared, because with infrared, I see a little comment down here that Devin had put in. Just tell you a little bit about with infrared, that will of course, infrared can't go through walls and things like that. But with Z-Wave, if we have a person that is trying to open their door and the device that we have installed inside the home that is going to engage that door opener, well, that person outside can activate their hub and it will send that Z-Wave signal inside the home and it will activate that door, right? So that's just the cool thing about Z-Wave and the technology. And, of course, with Alexa, you can also have some of those same features available to our users with that as well, and Google Home as well.
I just saw Rebecca utilize some of the technology by raising her hands when the lights went out. One of the features I want to say about the Alexa, how it has benefit individuals with low vision and visually impaired because of some of the things that the Alexa can do, like set daily reminders for you. It also could connect to your telephone and make phone calls for you, as read books. One of the things we discovered with Alexa and dealing with individuals with a low vision, it can also control the lights and dim the lights for you if you have an issue with bright lights or so this particular technology has really benefit individuals with low vision and visually impaired because of some of the things that it is able to do. When you're looking at individuals sometimes who having issues with, like older adults, right, who can't remember to take their medication and things, you can program Alexa to say, hey, I need, send me a reminder to take my medication daily at 8 p.m. It would certainly do that for you. At the end of the day, a visually impaired person would have to go through the house and try to lock down everything. With all of this technology and stuff, it's simply just tell Alexa to close down the house for the night, and lock the doors, turn the lights on, turn the security camera on, turn the security lights on, and what have you. So products like this for that particular disability has done it's really beneficial, to them at this point. Okay.
And I will say, because I saw somebody, say, oh, it's much better than trying to teach someone Siri. I just think,
yes.
I just think in general, oh God.
Are you still there, Devin? Are y'all still having bad weather there, Rebecca?
I believe Rebecca's muted, but I believe, maybe Alexa must have did something to Devin or something. Who knows?
Well, there are some good and bad points and pros and cons about Alexa. Technology is taking over. One of the things that I wanted to show in this particular presentation is a universal design product. This is just the MobiCam. It's a baby monitor. It's how you can take assistive technology and have it do other things than what it was designed to do. Like, for instance, take this baby monitor. If there's a person who has a significant disability that has a caretaker or a caregiver or attendant care, they don't necessarily have to be in the room with that person all the time. They can monitor that person from across town, from another room, from outside, from the home, or whatever. It's simple using this universal design product, which is a baby monitor, it is relatively inexpensive. If it was designed just for attendant care and the caregiver, it'll be a whole different price, and be much more expensive than what it is now. That's why it's good to look at universal design products and see how you can use them in everyday living with a person with with a disability. Okay.
And I see a question in here before we start the video, not a question, but just a comment about Siri and Alexa just being similar things. And it pretty much is, with Apple, they're going to be running and trying to stay ahead, especially when it does come to home automation. I know they spend a lot of money in research and development for trying to create solutions for folks with disabilities to have independence on their environment. So yes, and the cool thing about Apple is a lot of their products, they're already compatible. There's a lot of cross connection to where you can connect your iPhone to your Mac and so to your tablet. And, basically you can, everything that is connected through that in the iHome, Apple TV, your appliances, your door opener, your deadbolt lock, cameras in the home, Siri can control all that. So that is right on the point. Siri, it may be a little harder for folks to set that up. And like I said, you always want to have or invest in, if you're not a technical person, having someone with some experience just coming in and assisting with that, to just get everything you can. You want to make sure when you're using this technology, you get all that you can get from the technology. That's the most important thing, especially if you're going to make the investment in the technology.
Okay, I clicked on that particular video and I think it may be coming up now. Let me see. There we go.
I'm going to add something while we're waiting for this to launch. At the university, I was on a study for a clicker response system. So when a professor is giving a lecture, they can do a pop quiz and you can have an app on your phone and answer the questions that are being shown up on the board. And the responses can be anonymous and all of the data is generated right then. So really useful tool. But what they found is, and I don't know how other schools do this, but the internet service in the classrooms is separate from the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi service in the classrooms is a separate service from what's on the rest of the campus. So we were finding that while students were trying to use the clicker, they were getting signals halfway through the test that they would get a message that said, you don't have service. And what was happening is the professors were giving pop quizzes near the end of the class. Well, there is a group of people outside the classroom that are waiting to go in for the next class. They've got their phones out, and so it's sucking so much out of the classroom from these people in the hallway. And we were finding the same thing was happening with Bluetooth smart pens. People thought that was going to be a great solution on a campus, and again, the environment, you need to know a lot more about it.
Right. Okay.
And I see it was another question on if someone can pass up the horrible internet connection they have in their classroom. If they set up Z-Wave, you can pass it up, but you'll have to have a hub where you can build the Z-Wave signals into like a housemate or a device like that, to where you can bypass the internet. So you can do it, but you have to purchase a Z-Wave stick and a hub in order to bypass that.
Are y'all seeing the video on your end?
No, it's not coming up.
It's playing on my end.
Is it?
Okay.
Is it playing on your PowerPoint?
Yes.
Interesting.
Okay. Let's see.
Devin, could you load yours up on the screen? And Rich, I think it may be some feedback on your end.
Okay. Since we cannot get that started, I believe, Rebecca, everybody has that link to that particular to Holly's demonstration on that particular video. I think it is. She's done a fantastic job in demonstrating how the Alexa is working for her, and along with her disability and everything. And I really suggest that if they'd rather have any time to go back and look at that particular video. She's done a series of YouTube videos on her disability and some of the technology that she is using. And I'm proud of that particular young lady, and she's done a fantastic job. Let's go. Okay, let's see, can I get back? Okay. Yeah, I'm not able to get back over to.
Is it possible to try mirroring one of our screens?
Let me try this one. Okay, am I still? I've lost my picture here. Okay, since we can't bring that up, we're going to go on into some of the, we were going to demonstrate some of the old and new technology. You do have a link in your presentation in the PowerPoint that we submitted early. You will see some of those links in there that you can go in and look at them later on. If we could move down possibly, Rebecca, how's our time right now? You're muted, I can't hear you.
It's 9 o'clock Texas time.
Okay. we'll finish up with the few questions that we had answered, that we have answered in some of the information you provide us. Discuss case studies, issues with some technology, customers not having the internet access or may live in a rural community is one of the issues that we face quite a bit. The second question was customers lack the intellectual ability to access and comprehend as to how to use the technology. That's one of the areas that we really want to stop a little bit to talk about. Once we purchase this technology or once the technology is being recommended, it's not always the client or the customer has the intellectual ability to operate or understand the functionality of the technology. So we also have to look at that in terms of making a decision on what technology the person will require. For instance, if a person has memory issues, we have to put that into consideration. So often we've been called out to do a repetitive stuff for customers because they've forgotten how to operate a particular piece of technology. That's why it's so important in the training phase that when we are training the customer on how to utilize the technology is that we train a family member, we train a friend, we train the caretaker or the caregiver, anybody else who's going to be familiar with that person or be around that person for an extended period of time, to train them on the technology at the same time we're training that particular individual or that particular customer. I cannot stress enough the training. And Roderick, I think you've been out there long enough to know that that's an important phase of purchasing any technology, if you want to chime in on that.
Yeah. The biggest things we face is, when you look at these devices, when you look at people that need to either keep access of their environment, it's folks that are diagnosed with neuromuscular muscular deficiency or ALS. So when you're dealing with those type of diagnoses, anything that affects their neural system, you're going to have some, either delays or there's going to be some misconnections as far as communication. So when you're dealing with those type of situations, you really want to make sure that you're either training a caregiver, a family member, or someone that's going to be involved and closely involved with that person's journey, right? So, when another thing you want to look at, don't throw too much in there, keep it simple. A lot of times we're going out and we're putting together these solutions. We can't go in there and try to, create these full-blown systems, right? Because what's going to happen is either, that user is going to forget certain key functions that keep everything working. There's going to be a login or some type of password that's going to be forgotten to access certain areas in the application that they need to control their environment. So you want to, look at controlling key functions in the house, so that'll be lights, opening doors, maybe controlling the temperature. When you're looking at, connecting all your appliances and, alarm systems and different things like that, that may get a little cumbersome for someone to take all that in. So you really want to, make sure that you're slowing things down for that consumer when you're facing someone that has a neurological disease or that has a traumatic brain injury, you really want to take that in consideration. That's one of the things that that we have challenges with, as far as trying to get the technology to where it just it works and it continues to work for that person. So that if it's one thing, I would just point that out. Just keep it simple when it comes to some of these solutions, and that's Richard, I know we talk about it. Sometimes when you're dealing with your older community, you want to keep it simple, keep a simple approach, right? You don't want to scare people with technology, especially folks that haven't been exposed to that type of technology. So, the best thing to do is to start with a simple approach, then work your way up.
Right. And one of the things I want to stress also is that once we put this technology in a person's home or in a person's possession, we try to tell that particular individual not to allow others to play with the technology or experiment with the technology, because it requires additional time for us to go back out and reset all of the things that we have placed on the technology. And that is the most difficult task, to follow through on. When something goes wrong with a piece of technology, the person calls someone else in who's totally unfamiliar with it, who could probably create more damage than they can in repairing the situation. So that's why we try to stress to in having others around that can know how the technology operates, as well. Devin, were you able to get that particular?
Yeah, we can try it.
I just like her, so I just want you to see it. Okay.
Can y'all see it?
Got some cool new gadgetry that I want to show you, so I figured this would be a good time. Just a quick little recap for those of you who may know some of my story, but some of you may not. Quite a while back, I was put in touch with Bill and Deb Weiss at Limited Mobility Solutions when I requested information about being able to voice activate a hospital bed because I couldn't press the buttons. So they were able to deliver a really cool solution. So I'll quickly demo that. But I also want to show you a new piece of technology that they have created or worked with, I guess I should say, in order to make this even more accessible. So come with me, let's check it out, okay? All right, so as you can see here, I have just your typical hospital bed that is made for home use. You'll also notice there's another bed beside it. So, little piece of news for those of you who maybe saw the first video but you haven't seen any most recent news. But I got married a month and a half ago, so that's the reason for the second bed. I now have a husband who has to have a place to sleep too. So, anyway, his bed is not automated. Mine is. All right, so here we go. I'm going to demonstrate a couple of things, but let me show you something first. I'm going to be using the Amazon Echo device and the Google Home Mini devices. So this is what I want to compare. So I want you to take a look at these first. Okay. So here they're very unobtrusive, just small little devices that sit on top of the chest of drawers, and they're plugged in, really just kind of out of the way completely across the roof of the bed. So they don't get in the way. It's really awesome. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start by just doing a quick little recap demo for those of you who might not have seen how the Amazon device works. It's pretty simple. Now, what happened is that Limited Mobility Solutions, which is, like I said, Bill and his guys, they programmed this box with certain commands to make the bed operate, to replace the traditional remote. So here's an example. I'm gonna back out of the way so you can see. Alexa, turn on head. Okay. Alexa, turn on head. Okay. So there you can see it's just raising up the head. Now check this out. Alexa, turn on knees. Okay. Alexa, turn on knees. Okay. So you can see that I'm just giving these basic commands that are pre-programmed into the controller, and they do exactly what they sound like they should do. So now I'm going to put the bed back in its flat mode. Alexa, turn on back. Okay. Alexa, turn on back. Okay. Alexa, turn on feet. Okay. Alexa, turn on feet. Sorry, I didn't find a device named Peak. Alexa, turn on feet.
Okay, this video will continue on. I just wanted to give you just a few things that Holly is doing with the with the Alexa. Let's move to the next video, Devin. This is where this type of technology is being utilized in a hospital room.
Alexa, turn on top light. Alexa, turn on reading light.
Okay. Where's Rose? We need to go to TV. I'll see you tomorrow.
Alexa, turn on TV. Alexa, turn on Nurse Bell.
Okay. All right. Okay, Devin.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop it at this particular point. I want to show Rebecca. We have about 5 more minutes to wrap it up. Okay. Let's go to the last video. This is just to show the old technology versus the new technology. You just saw some of the new technology and what Roger explained earlier about the housemate, how adaptive that is, and it's voice activated. When you look at this particular piece of technology, you'll see just how far advanced we are today compared to where we were a couple of years ago.
In fact, many users claim their potential is underestimated. Environmental control units, or ECUs, are great devices for reducing your reliance on family and allowing you to utilize your attendant care time better. Increase your independence at home by operating your lights, television, phone, front door, heater, or any other electrical appliance from your wheelchair or even while you're in bed.
The use of the environmental control system not only provides me with my own independence, it also frees up the time and not having to rely on other family members who might be at home at the time. Geronimo,
Yeah.
light, three, shut off. The environmental control system operates lights and appliances using X10 modules, and the X10 modules.
Okay, Devin, you can hold it at that point.
Okay.
They're given a number and each light or appliance is given a separate number, and when you nominate.
Stop.
Okay. One of the things I want to show in here is that he had to have this particular microphone. He could not get that far away from the microphone to provide instructions to whatever piece of technology he wanted to turn on or turn off. Now, with the Bluetooth capability and voice-activated technology, he can be anywhere in the room or out of the room and can talk to any of the technology. When you have something like the Quartet and the old technology, and you have a person with a disability such as MS or something that may change their voice in at any point in time of the day, it can interfere with them giving instructions to some of that old technology. So I wanted to make sure that we understand the difference between the old technology and the new technology. I'm going to end my segment at this particular time. I thank you for the opportunity for being here on this evening. Technology is still fantastic. It's still something that I will continue to work with, especially with people with disabilities, and making sure that they have advantages in receiving this technology when it's needed.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any live questions? We're going to take those if anyone has some.
I know I was talking earlier about Alexa. I just think the point I was making before I cut out earlier, I just wanted to say, as far as the person that said Siri was easier to use than Alexa, I wanted to say that wasn't always necessarily the case, because I'm not sure if Roger covered it. It sounded like he might have covered it a little bit, but it just, sometimes it's harder because of how Alexa, you have to set up a certain, not only the Alexa app, then you have to set up a specific skill for whatever device you're trying to control. That, say something is disconnected and the user has some type of cognitive delay or disability, they're not going to know how to reconnect everything back, right? By going through their Alexa app. And that was just kind of the point I was trying to get at earlier. But it sounded like Roderick may have covered that, so I just wanted to let you guys know.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you guys. I know I'm seeing a lot of different comments here, and I appreciate it. I know this is never easy to do a presentation where we're all in 3 different places to have to kind of know what the other one is thinking. But I do appreciate you guys's appreciation for us and having us talk to you about our passion. So I definitely appreciate that.
But you can see how amazing technology is. Roderick is in Houston, Texas. I'm in Austin, Texas. Devin, I don't know where you are. and Rebecca, you're in Denton, so it is amazing how all of us can come together and can do this through this amazing technology. This technology has also been taken to the medical community where they're doing medical stuff with the same type of technology. And I just see such a great future for people with disabilities and technology. It is something that we have to get all of the vocational rehabilitation programs around the country to understand that technology is here to stay. And if they ever want to have an impact on the customers that they serve, they have to buy into the technology and making sure that the customer has the technology he or she needs in order to live independently in the community, work in the community, and be mobile in the community.
Roderick, one thing, could you touch on, please, the discussion that we've had in the past of voc rehab counselors making purchases online?
Yes, yes, that is a big issue. You know, that's something that we of course don't want to set that as a standard practice, especially in this state as well as all other states dealing with vocal rehab. But if you kind of look at the numbers, the success rates um, when the counselor purchases a product online and drop ships to a consumer versus having a um, qualified individual to go out and deliver and train someone how to use a piece of technology. Another issue with that is, a lot of times when you buy things online, sometimes it's not what it seems, right? So a product can look a certain way online. It could, oh, this is everything I need. It has all the bells and whistles. It says this, it says that. It says it will connect to anything in less than a minute. And, I can just do that and I'll be off and running. Well, sometimes, what it seems is not really what it is when you get that product. So those are some of the negatives about purchasing things online and just giving it to a consumer. And that's where you come up have the issue with, you call it the closet, right? So you have all this technology that, is 5 years of technology that end up in a closet, and it just ends up still in a box, and it builds dust. So, that's something here that, that we've had a little bit of an issue with our, counselor just trying to move things along faster and think that's a good approach, where it's, you're just spending unnecessary resources and trying to address a solution that you're not addressing. So, always take the right approach, always purchase, and, make sure you're purchasing things that is going to have support that comes with it, and it's going to be backed up. So if the product doesn't work out, make sure it's a company that will take it back and give you the right product.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to say goodnight to our great presenters from New Life. And I guess if the class wants to take a quick break, and we'll have group 6 set up for their presentation.